Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. For me here is Michelle Raymond, head B2B growth coach and LinkedIn trainer at B2B Growth CEO. We will discuss growing your B2B business with the LinkedIn master plan. Guys, LinkedIn just hit 1 billion users, so you start need to paying attention. You want to ready? Let's do this. All right, Michelle, how are you doing?
I am doing fabulous, and good day from the land down under, Dot. It is a fabulous sunny day, which I know is not your experience of this world right now, but
Yeah.
thanks for having me on the show because this is something that I'm really passionate about. I can't wait to share what I've learned.
Yeah, absolutely. I started getting serious about LinkedIn just about a year ago, and glad I was able to fix a couple of things. I was a bit sad that I wasn't doing it earlier, but just like everyone listening, it's better late than never. So we're going to have a fun time with this episode. But before then, you want to tell me about yourself, your background, your role, how you've come to fall in love with LinkedIn, Michelle?
Absolutely. For Dots, I need to confess before we start that I am a B2B salesperson at heart. I am someone that has spent 20 odd years in B2B sales.
Oh,
It was only around 10 years ago that I got started on LinkedIn. So I've got a head start on you, but you are right. The best time to start is now if you haven't. And
yeah.
why did I get started? It was this simple. I turned up at a new sales job. I hadn't worked in that industry before, and they did what they always do. They hand you a laptop and a customer list, and there was 80 customers spread around Australia, which is about the size of the US, and they said, "Go and sell." And I said, "But what do we
Start bumping
sell?"
them.
Uh, exactly. They're just like, "Just go and sell, Michelle." And I was like, "Okay, but I don't know anyone or anything about this." And I said, "Okay, it's okay. But do you have a website that I can refer to?" "No, Michelle." "Okay. Do you
Really?
have a catalog?" "I'll go old school. Give me a catalog." "No, Michelle." I was like, "What
Wow.
is going on here?" And so I went back to my boss and I just got my job through LinkedIn after I'd been there for like a few weeks. And I said, "Do you mind if I start posting content on LinkedIn?" His response was, "Michelle, is it free?" I was like, "Mhm, I think so." And he said, "I don't care, just go and sell." And so
Yeah.
that's how my journey on LinkedIn began because I realized I needed a tool and a platform to reach the people that I wanted to work with, but without having to get stuck in Sydney traffic, without
Mhm.
having to jump on a plane and fly to the other side of the country. And so I started to use LinkedIn to build a community and post content about the ingredients. So I come from the beauty industry.
Yeah.
So I was selling all the ingredients you can't pronounce on the back of shampoo bottles. That was my job. And you might think, what's that got to do with LinkedIn? And,
Yeah.
can I be honest? I built the most amazing niche community on LinkedIn
Wow.
and it's something I'm really proud of. Took me about 5 years, and it just brought me so much new business. So, I
Wow.
think I'm a sales at heart, content marketer by trade, and sometimes I kinda switch between both, and that's where social selling, I think, comes in.
Yeah. That's interesting. So were you the beauty experience now? Were you selling or communicating to retailers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, tell me more.
So my job was literally to take a list of 10,000 ingredients to go and meet with research and development chemists in their labs. So classic
Oh no.
extroverted salesperson versus an
Yeah.
introverted lab person and trying
Yeah.
to reach those people and have conversations. And so this is another reason why I realized no one else in my industry was trying to sell this way back at that time. Now I
Yeah.
had no idea the fancy names for it. I just thought I can post content and I can connect with people. That's as simple as
Yeah.
it was. Turns out it's been the basis, and that's how I ended up having my own business. Fast forward 7 years.
Mhm.
And what happened was I quit a job on the spot. So imagine this.
Mhm.
1 week, you get a a new purchase order from a client from a LinkedIn post for
Mhm.
$2 million worth of business. You
Wow.
can only imagine the high that I was on.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks later, I quit on the spot because the person I worked for reneged on that deal. And so I went, "I'm never working for anyone else again." And I was trying to figure out, well, what will I do? And then there it was. I could teach other people to do what I'd been doing, and that's sell on LinkedIn, grow their businesses on LinkedIn. And,
Mhm.
here's where I'm at now. And a lot of the marketing side dots, I've had to bring that into my business because as a business
Yeah.
owner, completely different experience to someone that was working for another business where there were teams that looked after that.
Interesting. Wow, that's interesting. So I have another question around your experience before we get into the topic. Like I said before, LinkedIn has grown, just crossed the 1 billion mark. But I almost feel like LinkedIn is starting to become the corporate Instagram. Um, don't crucify me for this if you're listening, but I personally dots feel that Instagram is a place for, you know, intimidation at the highest level. It has been research has shown that there's so much mental health issues arising from Instagram. The owner of Instagram has stopped using Instagram. The one that sold it to Mark Zuckerberg. So there's so much going with Instagram. Instagram is a great platform. I advertise on there, but from a personal perspective, I think it's just become it's something else. You know, Now I feel LinkedIn, when you see posts that are very clickbaity, when you post on LinkedIn, it reveals a little bit of text, and I think people know that, and they're using that text to post all kinds of I guess again you're afraid to say what you want, but they're afraid instead of adding value, they start to talk too much about their successes. I've made, in your case, for example, I've made $2 million per sale. Here is how to do it. Buy my course, buy this, buy that. Or, someone would write 500 words on a LinkedIn post and you'd be like, geez, what did I gain from this post? Absolutely nothing. It's just self-proclaimed stuff going on. And we stalk our guests, and I know for you, you come from a very genuine perspective. You even said you're not going to teach someone how to use bots on LinkedIn, which so many people do. How do you add value in an environment like this? I don't know if you even agree with all my rants, which is a very risky rant, for example. I'm risking my podcast for this rant.
The good news for you is I'm going to back you up 100%. And
Thank you.
unfortunately, it is something that I've seen change recently. I'm going to say probably 12, 18 months post
Mhm.
COVID is what I would see happened. And
Okay.
what I think you mentioned, we'd reached a billion people on the platform now, billion members, which is
Mm.
just crazy. LinkedIn keeps growing. So it's a platform
Yeah.
that's been around for 20 years, but it keeps on growing. And from
Mhm.
that perspective, what we saw during COVID was people that traditionally didn't use LinkedIn have all come across, and not many of them have left. At the same time, we have the rise of AI and automation tools. Now,
Yeah.
I am with you. Like, if I could stamp one thing out on social media, it would be all of these people that are trying to cheat the system, that make it worse for everybody else. And
Mm.
social media, I think, is almost designed to, I call it comparisonitis. It's where
Yep.
you keep scrolling, you see somebody else doing far better than you, and it makes you feel like rubbish. And that's a nice
Yeah.
word that I'll put for it on a good day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, what it discourages so many people, which is what makes me so angry about it. And, you look to these people, they've got, make $1 million before breakfast time. And it's absolute rubbish because on LinkedIn, things happen at snail's pace. They're high quality relationships, but they take
Mhm.
time. And people think, I'm just going to come on here, post these clickbait posts, like you said, and I'm
Yeah.
magically going to grow a business. And
Yeah.
then they join engagement pods. And if you want to see me get fired up, start me on engagement pods, which we won't go there yet because I'll talk all day. But
Yeah.
that's where people pay to get engagement, which again makes the good people that are starting on the platform be so discouraged, often overwhelmed. Now, that's a
Mm.
word I've not used until this year for the people
Yeah.
that are reaching out. They're
Yeah.
so conflicted about, should I do this? Should I
Yeah.
do that? Where
Yeah.
are we at? And everyone else has got it all sorted. I'm like, no, what they actually do is they copy viral templates from
Yeah.
automation tools and
Yeah.
post it like it's their own. And I
Yeah.
think that's something we see come across from TikTok, because
Mhm.
on TikTok, you're successful if you jump on a trend and you make your own version of it. And I don't think that flies on LinkedIn, but we're seeing so much of it. So I think either both of us are going to get canceled based on this show, or we're going to, attract the right people. And I hope it's,
It's the other way around.
the latter.
And I'm just gonna, add one more person to that hit list. So Brian, if you are there, the floodgates are open. Do you agree with what I'm saying? I know you use most of these platforms very well. The perception on LinkedIn, people showing their perfect career, people showing their perfect life, people, some posts just make you cringe, basically, from my perspective. And looking at the relationship between TikTok/Instagram and then on LinkedIn. And, being a thought leader is not a bad thing. I'm trying to do that myself. But people, I, I'm, I don't think people are adding value as they ought to. They speak more, they put the person before the idea. Something that I hate in my house. Then everybody that knows me know it. Put the idea before yourself, not the other way around. But now to the topic at hand, which if you are listening, if you actually think towards everything that we're about to discuss, you might be using LinkedIn in a very great way. And, maybe I don't want to use the word kill two birds because of animal rights, but hit two targets with the same stone or with the same arrow. So the first thing really is what, Michelle had mentioned the word before, social selling, social selling. And while I was preparing for this, I found a research by LinkedIn that shows that 45% of leaders who have some sort of a strategy get better sales opportunities or better marketing opportunities, through LinkedIn. So strategy is very, very important. How do you work out your own strategic framework, with LinkedIn at the center and using that as a means for B2B business growth?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think the thing that I want to say to listeners out there, especially if you're trying to grow a business, that's where I'm coming from. I don't look after the side of LinkedIn where there's job seekers and career seekers. You would have a completely different strategy. What I think happens is people think if I post content, my business grows. And I wish it was that easy. It is much, much harder than that. But let's start with my definition for social selling, because I
Mhm.
like to strip everything back and make life as simple as possible for people. It's
Yeah.
about finding the right people. It's about connecting with those people. It's
Mhm.
about nurturing relationships, which is a key word you'll probably hear me use a lot, so
Yeah.
that you stay top of mind when they're ready to buy. All they can think about is you and your company. And if we break it down to the such a simple definition, if you take that and put it into action on LinkedIn and commit to doing it over time. Often when we talk about social selling and content marketing and things like this, we think about consistency. It's a word that everyone
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
consistently post and magic will happen. The problem is people do go consistent for probably 3 weeks maximum, don't get the results that they want, and they give up. So
And they
I use a
stop.
word
Yeah.
persistency. It has to be done over
Yeah.
the long term. As long
Yeah.
as you have your business, you're doing these actions. And so this is what I want people to see. You have to sit down, take a moment, write a list. I call it your game plan. Have a
Mhm.
game plan in place for who are you targeting in the first place? Who is it that is your ideal customer? Who would you love to work with? Who are those people that light you up and inspire you or you learn from them? Because I think, it can't be all just business on LinkedIn. I think sometimes we've got to do
Mhm.
some things that we enjoy and find people that inspire us. And so write a list down. Then use the search bar to go and find these people and start connecting with them. And then have some conversations. This is what
Yeah.
happens. People spend all this time investing in writing the world's best connection message, and it's highly personalized. I hit accept, they disappear. I never talk to them again. I'm
Wow.
thinking, what are you missing here? And it's relationships. So I'm very much a relationship based social seller. That's what it's all about. And so I just want people to start thinking of if we slow this process down, stop trying to get huge numbers and start being targeted, like you said, all of a sudden that word overwhelm goes out the window. We don't have to worry about that anymore
Yeah.
because we're targeted, we're on track, and we're just having conversations with other human beings. And that is the core of what I do. So if people are looking for quick fixes, shortcuts, if someone comes to me and says, I want lead gen, I'm like, I'm not the right LinkedIn trainer for you, my friend,
Yeah.
because I want you to have relationships that create demand. I'm a salesperson. I want you to grow your business. I want you to have more revenue, but it's not going to be at the expense of short-term quick fixes. And so, doing these things persistently over time. Yes, you've got content, but there are some people that are successful on LinkedIn dots without even creating content because their direct messaging game is so strong. They're
Mm,
nurturing relationships in
yeah,
the background. And I
yeah.
think that's the thing that I want to say to people. It's not all about hook lines and call to actions. I wish it was that simple because I can guarantee you those people you were talking about before, they don't make anywhere near the amount of money that they pretend they do.
No,
And if you scratch the surface, you find that out very quickly.
yeah, yeah. And you're right. I'm not saying my LinkedIn setup is perfect, but what I've decided to do is this: I build a relationship on LinkedIn. I use X as well through the podcast. We are having a discussion. We had a prep call where I told you about my origins and things like that. We're getting to know each other, right? And if I have a question about LinkedIn, I can just DM you or send you an email or, you know, call you or whatever it is, and you can give me a quick answer and I don't have to pay for and I move on. So, and then maybe even we see face to face and so on. So I, I do all that and leave everything else. I am an analytics guy, and you will never believe that I've not checked my post performance in a while. I get a weekly snapshot. I'm like, oh, okay, it's some green, some red. Let me move on. It's all about the relationship for me too as well. Like building a relationship, even after the podcast episode, I do something which is very crazy. It's still 3,000 followers right now, so it's a bit bearable. Every single day, I check the birthday notifications and I wish people a happy birthday. And by doing that, at least someone thought about you. And if it's something that you felt maybe you want to follow up with about something, you can just say, "Oh, happy birthday." How about this? How about that? I remember we spoke about this the other time. That birthday notification sort of gives me that system of who to contact. I think I will continue to do it, even if I have to hire someone to do it. If I reach, say, Shama Haider's level of almost 1 million followers, because again, it's all about the relationship. Just trying to add to all you said there. But what do you think about my birthday idea?
Look, I think it's great because it goes back to the idea of staying top of mind. We can't just connect or as it more likely is, collecting people. The number of
Mm,
followers goes up, the number of connections goes up,
mm,
but the number of conversations drops off because we're not finding reasons to reach out and start conversations with people. And this is what I find a lot of people who haven't had a sales background like I do haven't got a strong game for finding a reason to reach out and have a conversation with people. So I know some brilliant experts, videographers, graphic designers, professional services that
mm,
love being in the background. Like marketers, especially, I'm going to throw this out there. They are the worst because they're so good at putting everything and everyone else in the spotlight and
yeah,
staying in the background. Now,
yeah,
if you're a marketer trying to grow a business that's your own, you can't do that anymore. You have to be top of mind. And so just having conversations. And I say to people, take the pressure of the sale off. Stop
mm,
thinking about the sale.
mm,
Start thinking about having a conversation with a human and getting to know more about them. I have grown my business successfully in, a relatively short period of time because I care about other people and I want to know what they do and I refer business to them. And as my nan told me, my grandmother, she said, Michelle, what goes around comes around. And on LinkedIn, that is absolutely true. The more you
mm,
do for other people, the more you get that back again. And
yeah.
so that's a really important thing. And it's the social in social media that somewhere along the line we keep forgetting about. And I hope to see that change in 2024.
I hope so too as well. But yeah, you reminded me of that. The social in social media going off. Yeah, I've been a follower of what goes around, turns around as well. I because of all this stuff, I start to get like maybe 5 cold outreaches every day. I read somewhere and saw somewhere that Mark Cuban replies all his cold outreaches every day. He gets 1,000 emails every day. he has this template, no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. If he finds a good one, he falls this to the I don't know, assistant or something. I like that mode because I always feel if I don't respond, nobody will respond to me. I think as far as this podcast is, I've gotten a lot of responses, but some annoyingly not. But yeah, you want to say something about that?
Oh, I was just thinking, I know you've had Nancy Harhart as a guest of yours, and in her book, one of the principles is around exactly that, how we're obligated to respond. And so we can get those instinctive responses out of people by initiating these conversations. People are almost compelled instinctively to come back and respond to us, but there's
Yeah.
not enough people initiating them. If I look at my inbox, I get lots and lots of connection requests. And I accept most of them, except YouTube and podcast promoters. They're the only people that are on my blacklist for the most part. But from that, I then turn around and go, everybody else, you're welcome. All
Yeah.
walks of life, whether you're outside of my target audience, I'm happy if you've made that effort to connect, to accept that. But then what
Mm.
happens is they disappear. And I would say
Yeah.
very few people are starting conversations with me. And I find that really unusual. And when I reach out and do that in the background, some of them are beside themselves. They're like, "Oh my god, Michelle, you're reaching out and you wanna have a conversation with me?" I was like, "It's kinda what we're here for. I know you think that I just I'm sitting up here on my royal content throne and posting content so that you can all worship me. No,
Mm-mm.
I'm doing it
Yeah.
so that I can have conversations and get to know people better." And, that is one of the biggest opportunities that most people miss on the platform because 'cause they're so busy worrying about the algorithm. I'll tell you right
Yes.
now, getting reach on LinkedIn right now is down the toilet at best. I've been
Mm.
doing this for a long time. My numbers have been fairly consistent for a very long time.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, I'm probably getting half, maybe a third some days of the numbers that I used to get. And
Mm.
at first, it feels yuck. I'm not going to say that I'm cheering myself going, oh my God, I've lost half. But
Yeah.
then I start to think maybe it's going to the right people. And I'm
Exactly.
going to have to hustle and do some stuff in the background that is in my control. So don't just wipe off your business growth and say, well, the LinkedIn algorithm's rubbish and my content doesn't get seen anymore. It's time to start hustling. It's time to make actions that are in our control. And there's plenty of them. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of people drop off because that hit of and that high that comes with bigger numbers is now
Mhm.
reduced by half. And
Yeah.
people are questioning, is it really working? Yes, it is.
I think it happened to everyone. I think there was like a follower slash or something like that. I probably lost 1,000 followers. Um, Neil Patel, just Googling this live on the episode. But Neil Patel used to have about a million, more than a million followers. Now I can't even remember what. Now it's 554. So something must have happened to his profile. Anyway,
Yeah, it's the bots, right? So it's all
yeah,
the fake accounts that attach to
yeah,
big, high profile accounts and they
yeah,
go and follow them. So the Microsoft company page, it went from about, I don't know, I forget the numbers, but let's say it was like 20 million. It's
yeah.
now down at 17 million because why? Because bots attach themselves to big accounts to make them look more legitimate. So I
Wow,
actually love that LinkedIn did that
took that
archiving and
step
that clean out because I want my posts to actually be seen by people.
on a
I don't
premiere.
want it to be seen by bots that have no value. They're never going to like my post. They're never going to do anything. And it
Yeah,
actually takes away from my experience. So I'm happy they did it, but does it feel nice? Absolutely not. There are some company page managers out there that their jobs, their bonuses are all tied to KPIs like followers. And so
yeah,
when LinkedIn strips back a few thousand, it's like, hang on a minute, this is connected to my bonus. So I can
yeah, yeah.
understand and I have empathy for people. But I just want you to kind of say in the long run, it's so
The
much better
business will
for you.
grow. Yeah. And I think LinkedIn is still growing regardless. I want to believe that this 1 billion was reached after the cleanup. So I think so. So they found out what happened. They found out how close they were to 1 billion, and they was like, yeah, if you want to hit 1 billion, let's hit 1 billion people, not 1 billion people and bots. So that sort of makes a lot of sense. But speaking of bots, I want to swap my questions a little bit here, and I got to when I'm swapping them out. business messaging is something that is very important. LinkedIn sits at the top, right? And we're talking again about the LinkedIn master plan. How do you use that? How do you encourage people to use that in a way where you can attract opportunities, expand customer value, and so on?
So for me, when I'm looking at things like that, I want people on LinkedIn to always stop and think, who does my product or service best fit with?
Mm,
Have the conversations. Now, I'm not a planner by nature. I think that some of my sales processes, being on the fly and doing what I want, aren't necessarily always good processes. But I think the more work that you do up front, the better. Do some
yeah.
research of your competitors. Now, here's the danger. When people do that, they end up copying their competitors and doing everything the same.
Yeah.
And then you lose your competitive advantage, which is
Yeah.
standing out. So try and have a look at it, but go, how can we not be that? And it's counterintuitive, but by creating a space for yourself,
Hmm.
people talk about create your lane. I'm like, create your autobahn. You don't want anyone else
Amen.
in your lane that's going to slow you down. So there's just little tips like this about doing the work up front and being clear, because then you can just establish, well, what do I want to be known for? And being everything to everyone again is not a shortcut to success. And this
Yes.
is a hard lesson that I had to learn in the beginning as a business owner. I wanted to do everything for everyone because I wanted those invoices to come in. It's human nature. But the
Yeah.
more I strip things back, the faster my business grew. And I was saying, oh, maybe all those marketers, they knew what they were talking about when they say the words niche. I
Yeah.
personally took me a little while to get there. But, having these kinds of things before you take action on the platform, they're just priceless, Dot. And, I know it sounds like it's not glamorous and it's not this exciting and
Mm.
it's not like the latest technology. And I'm not talking about ChatGPT doing it all for you, but
Yeah.
I'm deliberately doing that because people keep skipping over the foundations and the basics and they expect that they can run before they can crawl. And so, trust me, if you come back to these basics and get those nailed, everything just becomes so much easier. The content you create, the people you connect with, it's so much less work, which I think is important for people today. I
Mm.
know that so many people are under the pump and they're swamped with how much work they've got to get done in a day. So I'm all
Mm.
about stripping it back, doing less, but quality over quantity,
Well,
as
well,
the cliche goes.
yeah, 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 yeah. As the cliche goes. Yeah, that's true. Guys, I don't know if you've listened to a LinkedIn episode as this one with so much insight and maybe not so exciting, just to echo Michelle, ideas, but ideas that actually work and deliver what I call sustainable value for your business. Even if you're in the D2C as well, or B2C, we'll put it that way, not D2C, because with the experience that Michelle shared with the cosmetic thing, it's B2C because it's like retail and all. Anyway, the point is use LinkedIn right. It's a pretty powerful tool. I'm on the Sales Navigator subscription as well. It's quite an investment. um, but it's really, really good. Just use it right and don't get way above your head. I have one more question for Michelle, but we need to take a quick break from our sponsor. And when we get back, it's going to be the Dots Rapid Fire. We've been ranting all day, so let's see if Michelle can handle this one. Stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. So, like I said, it's the Dots Rapid Fire, and it's 3 questions. Michelle, you said the truth and nothing but the truth. Are you ready?
I am ready. Hands on the buzzer.
Good. First one, what is your best marketing? I'm happy to give you slash sales KPI, but I don't want to hear sales or revenue.
Oh, you don't want to hear revenue. I think is
No.
if I take that one out, because as I said, salesperson by heart, so it's all about the numbers. But if I take that back, I think it's the number of conversations you're having with people off LinkedIn. So
Oh,
if you are
wow.
doing the right things, connecting with the right people, nurturing relationships, the next obvious thing that I want you to make sure is happening is you're having conversations off LinkedIn. I want you to
Mm,
get as many people off the platform and having conversations as you can,
mm,
but not just for the sake of it, but because you are out to try and get to know that person even more and, make that relationship even stronger. So for me, conversations off the platform is the KPI that I think is most important.
yeah, yeah, that's good. Okay, this is this second question, and we've had this rapid fires for a bunch. I feel most excited about it because we are discussing LinkedIn. How long do you use social media every day?
The true answer or the answer that I want out there in the world?
The
I
true answer.
use it a lot.
Mm.
So I use a lot. I find LinkedIn is my work and my entertainment. So
Yeah,
I reckon I probably lose 4 hours a day throughout the
yeah,
day,
yeah,
from the time I read LinkedIn over my cup of tea in the morning
yeah,
to, watching Netflix and chill while I'm scrolling, seeing what's going on, to doing my client work. I
yeah.
think that's actually true. Do I want other people out there to invest 4 hours of their life a day on LinkedIn? Absolutely not. I think half an hour maximum is
Well,
what
I mean,
people should be
what if
investing.
it's what if it's converting? In my case, we have
Go
maybe
for it.
30 episodes. I mean, a bunch of episodes live, depending on when you are listening, and we've closed about 3 deals from this podcast because of LinkedIn.
Love it.
You know,
Yeah, look, I say double down on what's working, and it
yeah,
also depends on the resources that you've got in your business. How many
yeah,
platforms do you have to try and spread yourself across? For
yeah,
me, it's easy. I'm on LinkedIn and I have my podcasts, and a YouTube channel, but ultimately LinkedIn is my primary platform. And so it makes sense for me to spend most of my time there. But for other people, you might not have that luxury. You might
mm,
be a social media manager that's spread across all of them and trying to juggle, everyday work as well. And
yeah,
so for me, yeah, I would say half an hour, but if you're getting results, keep going. The more people in the team that you can bring in to help, the better. That's less work for everyone in total. But yeah, I confess 4 hours. I'm sure it's probably longer some days. But yeah, let's go with that one as the average.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'll take it. I'll take it. So the last one is almost similar in terms of your use of LinkedIn and the fact that people these days make these crested social media tweets or Instagrams of their own quotes and then post that crest on LinkedIn, which is a bit crazy. At the beginning, I first thought they were original screenshots, but later I started to find that that was just people,
A template.
yeah, templates stashing their logo, and somehow that goes viral, which is crazy. Anyway, what is your favorite marketing quote? Because this thing I just said is used mostly on quotes.
My favorite marketing quote. Now, I've done a bit of research on this because when I
Yeah.
co-authored the LinkedIn branding book, at the top of every chapter, there is a marketing quote that we used. Now, when I
Mm.
was doing research for this, Dots, there were so many marketing quotes from males all over the world. I'm not going to be quoting Jeff Bezos. I can assure you that.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is I'm going to quote something that I know no one else has ever quoted besides me, because this marketing quote comes from my mum, who was not a marketer, but
Oh,
taught me a very valuable lesson. And that is, Michelle, if you hang out with garbage, you're going to smell like it. So, what that means to me in terms of LinkedIn is be careful who you hang out with on the platform. You are guilty by association. So, if people are
yeah.
using pods, engagement pods, they're trying all of these, reverse engineered posts, which is a fancy term for plagiarized posts. They are
Mhm.
doing all kinds of things to cheat the system. Think
Yeah.
about it, that reflects back on you. And is that the person that you want to be known for when you're building relationships on the platform? In my case, I'm really conscious about where I spend that time that I'm on LinkedIn. I'm hanging out with good quality people. And that could be because they're smart at what they do. It could be because they're good humans. They make me laugh. But just be careful
Like
who you
dots.
hang out with. And
Mhm.
dots, exactly. Because, you wanna make sure that you are aligned with your values. I think I'm hoping that in 2024 is something we'll see more of, especially as LinkedIn is now 65% Gen Z and below. So we've had a big shift
Ah, I
in
didn't know
age
that.
groups on the platform. Yeah, so they love aligning with values. It's really important to them. So I'm hoping that the content that we start to see is more values based. Yeah. So go and hang out with people that really lift you up, help you stand out, and make you shine, and just avoid the dark side of LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. The dark side of LinkedIn. Um, the last one I prepared, saved best for the last. So now we've discussed all these concepts, the do's and the don'ts, as they would call it. But in terms of, you getting to help people reach this goal with LinkedIn, just for not just for themselves, but for their businesses, like, how do you do that? Is there like a checklist or some sort of framework that, you use to help employees become advocates, or employee engagement, and they decide to give you the money they should have given Taylor Swift to promote their brand, and give that to you to promote they themselves, which is great. Like, how do you do that at a high level?
Yeah, look, my growth framework, it outlines the steps that employees or business owners need to take, depending who's responsible. But ultimately, we want a game plan. That's the G. R is for
Yeah.
relationships, finding and connecting with those people. O is for outreach. You got to actually start having some of these conversations with people. How do you do that?
Yeah.
W is willingness. And that's all about mindset dots because
Mhm.
so many people are fearful of LinkedIn and what people are judging them for. And there's a lot of fear going on. So that's why I include that step. It's really important. If we cover that and then we
Yeah.
move on to thought leadership, how can we create content that really distinguishes us from other people? And then the last thing is the habits. It's the
Yeah.
boring things that we have to do day after day, consistently and persistently over time that make the difference. So having a framework that goes along that path gives people something solid that they know what they're doing. And, that to me has been most successful. People get bombarded with information, but I want them to have practical steps that they need to follow. And so that's, ultimately what social selling is, following those steps and, I just love helping other people grow their businesses. And this is the best way that I've found that works and the one that I use myself.
Yeah, 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 makes a lot of sense. On that persistent note, we have come to the end, and it's been a great pleasure discussing this. I've had a lot of fun. Um, Whenever a guest gives me an opportunity to rant, I often love that guest a lot. So thank you so much for giving me that opportunity to rant about LinkedIn, which is a space where you play in. Where can people find you, and learn more about this, and be able to use LinkedIn for their business?
If they come across to b2bgrowthco.com, that's my website. They can find details. But please come and find me on LinkedIn, Michelle J. Raymond. The
Yeah.
J's in there because there's thousands of Michelle Raymonds. So Michelle J. Raymond on LinkedIn is where you'll find me with giving away lots of these kinds of tips. And I enjoyed your rant. I think it's important that when we have platforms, we call out this kind of behavior. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you going for a rant.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on my side, if you put it that way. But guys, this is how we do it on the Marketing Leadership Podcast. It is always fun, but with some extreme wisdom. We go out of our way to research the best topics, the most uncommon topics, for even common, uh, uh, you know, discussion aspects, just so you can get more value, on top of what you already know. And just go to .lovesmarketing.com to get more of these episodes. We're recording a lot, so you can binge all day if you like. Also subscribe. So Marketing Leadership on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Subscribe to anyone that works for you. If you like the content there, you can leave a review as well. Before I go, I'd like to thank This Week and Content Allies for their support. And also, not to forget my newest venture, listennetwork.co. It's called listennetwork.co. If you want to take your podcast from bigger to biggest, we can help you do that. Till next time, connect the dots.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Listen Network. There will be links to resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.